YouTube Wednesday, prop repair. So it is audition day here at Dark Hour. So there's going to be some weird background noise. You might hear screaming. Things are fine. What I'm doing is I'm doing a prop repair, and they sent this prop to me. I'm helping out a friend. I hear it's in rough shape. I haven't really looked at it yet. So here it is. I know that it's a Gorgalore puppet head, and it's old. It's been around a long time. All right, so my work is cut out for me. I can see how this is just deteriorated. When you're foam filling things, you do a thin latex skin. The latex is gone, and it's kind of, well, it's rotting away from age and UV light. Never let sun touch your latex props if you want them to live long. Put them in the shade. It's got a mechanism I have to account for this bottom mouth. So I have to be able to let this move while I repair this jaw. And repair may mean replace this jaw, because this is in rough shape. I am just assessing this guy right now, and I'm wondering if I have another mask that I can sacrifice the bib, because this bib is toast. This is kind of a generic zombie, so I could probably find a zombie jaw that fits this pretty good. It's a Allen-sized head. Normally I say it's a human-sized head, just a little oversized, like mine. So let me poke around in my pile of stuff to see if I have another mask that I can cut up. I have a box here of masks that I got from China, and I make all, it's a good basic skull mask. I make all kinds of things out of it. This will probably work. So this prop is in really bad shape, and often I would try to repair as much as possible, but this guy, because it's going to be used in a haunt, I know I need it to be strong. That repair has to be very strong, so I thought replacement was just the best bet. I am cutting it free from the frame. These pictures that I'm taking now are paint reference. That way I know how it should look paint-wise, and that's all I'm looking at. I'm looking at the paint, I'm looking at what paint goes where and what colors, so I can match it as best as possible. And you'll notice while I'm cutting this mask up, I'm kind of looking at it and lining it up, and I'm just making sure that that'll work. Those teeth are a little smaller, but not terrible. I think they're within the realm of possibility, so I am using that sucker. And I decided to do the chin as a separate piece instead of one piece. Here's my good friend Weldwood contact cement. Use that in a well-ventilated area. And to use it, you put it on both pieces and you let that dry. I don't like wasting time, so while that bit there is drying, it's a nice piece for something. Let's save that. While that piece is drying, I'm cutting the rest of the mask where I think I need to, and I'm leaving it a little big so that I can glue it on and then just cut my excess. And I know where I want to glue it on. I know what has to be glued down. So why not, while I'm waiting on the other glue to dry, apply glue. I do everything I can to work as fast as possible, and I don't want to get to a point down the road where I have to wait on glue to dry. So I'm covering this whole head in glue because I know I've got a lot of patching and repair to do and blending. So this guy is now dry. That means it's been about 10 minutes or so. Push that down really good. Contact cement wants a lot of pressure. The more pressure you put on when you put it down there, probably the more likely it will be to work. And again, I'm putting glue everywhere. I'm amazed at how well that worked already. Like, already? Really? Okay, that's good. I was pleased because sometimes you can't see it until the end, but that just stuck on there. It's like, okay, this project's going to go well. This is blue shop towel. I use it all the time because it's cellulose fibers, and it blends. It sucks up latex and contact cement really well.
I prefer to use contact cement for this because it dries faster and I can work faster. I ripped off all the edges, and I'm making sure that I really get the edges well, because that's what's not going to stick down is that edge, and that's what's going to, make it pop out to your eye. And I just did 3 paper towels. I thought that would be enough. I would rather have too many done than not enough. And I'm spreading out contact cement, letting that dry. I've got to flip those later and put on more contact cement. And now the contact cement on the head is dry. And I'm pulling it all the way up. And I'm using that hard cheekbone. This is I think this is a Kevin Albee sculpt, and I love Gore Galore's work. It is wonderful work. One of the reasons why they're one of the cornerstones of the haunt industry. Beautiful stuff. That harsh cheekbone that he's got on there, really nice for helping hide my seam. Just tucking all that glue in.
I have the bib that originally existed. This is more of a bony bib, but all I've got to do is repaint it. I think I'm a paint job and a little bit of blue towel touch up away. But the repair, really, you guys, well underway. Learn to hoard materials. All of this was free.
So this little piece here is for the jaw. I noticed when I put the original was all foam backed, and I wanted some support in there, so I glued that foam into the bottom jaw that I just put in. That way it won't buckle or anything weird like that. And this is my contact cement. If I had just done this directly on the table, then I would have glued them to the table, because that table has all kinds of contact cement on it from other projects. There's that little jaw piece. Gotta open up the mouth and put that in there. And now the other side was not contact cemented, so I'm doing that. And now this stuff rips great. And I'm able to just patch it on over my seams. Anywhere I have a seam, and that will just go away. If I want texture, I can wrinkle the paper. But what's holding it on is the contact cement that I put on there earlier. I put contact cement on both. Let's tape this to a paint can. A weird but vital step.
It's important to mention what I just did. I set up a workstation. I set myself up to be successful. Here at dark hour, the Stiltby shop, so often I see mistakes get made because people aren't setting up their work. I put it on a Lazy Susan so I can get to it. I've taped it down to a solid base. This doesn't stand up easy, so rather than have it roll around on me on the table, I can work faster if I take the time to stabilize my work than I can if it's rolling all around the floor or rolling around the table. This is an important thing to do when you're creating, and if someone comes in mid-project, it's way more professional looking, even taped to a can, than it is having it just roll around the floor. It's always worth taking the time to set your work up right for success. I can work faster with my work set up right than I can without it.
You kind of got a sneak peek there while we were talking about setting up your workspace. And here I'm doing like some tendrils of flesh, just like his jaw was shredded. And these are the fleshy bits that hang down. And they're also hiding my seams. There's that big seam from the jaw. And the other one also had like a lip, or the gums were exposed. So I'm going to recreate that with the blue shop towel. Just all these little bits on there are adding to this and helping hide the seam. They're adding a little bit of realism. And that was me. I contact cemented over top of the foam I put in down there, because that needs to be covered up. Here's that faux bottom lip. Here's a big piece to put over that. We will let that dry. And you can see the seams now because there's all these different colors. But as soon as we start painting, and right now the front of the head needs to dry, but I can paint the back of the head. Why waste time? I'm not going to wait for that whole thing when I can just paint it. One thing I did not get a good picture of was the skull on the back of the head. So I think my paint job came out different. Not bad, just different. If I recall, this guy's up in the air pretty high, and they won't see the back of his head much. I'm painting everything that I can, and I'm basing it out all in the same color, so that when I dry brush this and bring it up, all that's going to blend in well. I'm just making a real dark flesh, kind of. And you know what? If I don't cover all that red down there, all that gore, then it just looks cooler. That is wedged in there so that contact cement in the mouth will dry, and it did. Now remember, that piece of towel is soaked in contact cement. It's got it on both sides, so it's almost like a sheet of rubber. And everything gets based. I'm a little wet to start my dry brush, but I'm starting my dry brush. I never said I was patient. And this is the step where you'll really, those paper towels are just going to go away. You won't even notice them. This is that lighter skin tone on top. This guy was actually pretty lightly colored. I haven't done anything to the teeth, and they match actually really well right now. Now that looks like it is pink, but that is red. When you use house paint, the house paint looks red. It looks pink before it becomes red. As it dries, it gets darker.
While the paint is drying, I wanted to talk about some other ways that this could have been fixed. I happened to have a skull mask that worked out. I could have done the whole build out of the blue paper towels. I could have used latex instead of contact cement. Contact cement's faster, dries faster, so I went with that method. It's also a really nice adhesive. I also could have just taken measurements and sculpted and molded a new piece. I guess I could have glued this guy back together, all of its little bits, backed it with blue paper towel, and made this one piece again. Problem is that latex rot it'll spread. It's like a disease. So there's little sticky parts in here, and when I was picking this stuff off, I made sure that none of the stickiness stayed, because that latex will continue to rot. And I put the contact cement on it to stabilize what was already there. There's a lot of ways that I could go about this, but I had to preserve this jaw motion. That was a big part of one of the requirements.
And I was saying that red under there it helps give life to a paint job. Our skin has red. I know it's a zombie, I don't have to give life to it, but I don't want a dead flat paint job either. So having that red and those different values underneath, look at me checking my reference, and I realized that I'm much darker than the original was. So I added some white. Let's bring that brightness up. but having that red value under there, it looks like there was blood under that skin at one point in time. And obviously his mouth is still like kind of a bloody mess. So it makes sense that there's still blood in his skin. He's that weird mix of very decayed, his nose is missing, his face is shredded, but not so decayed that he's gray or brown. He is a very flesh-colored zombie. And here I am hitting that big patch of skull. Getting that skull colored. There's a little bit inside the nose there. And this is black, and I'm holding that other piece in my hand, and I'm just painting that black on. That'll darken up again. That house paint goes on a little gray, but then it gets much darker. And painting and matching the color, that's honestly, that's kind of fun. I'm not too far off with the paint, so I'm happy with it. And then this is a little bit of Rue Blood. This is the material that I'm using. All the paints that I'm using are the Stiltbeast Studios paints. You can mix your own. 1/3 casting latex, 1/3 distilled water, and 1/3 casting latex, distilled water. Oh, and latex house paint from Home Depot. So those are the 3 ingredients, pretty much equal. I might go a little more water if I'm airbrushing, a little less if I want a thicker paint. And here I'm just kind of blooding it up. Remember I pulled some strands of hair off of there? That stuff will work. And this is silicone 1 or 2, as long as it's pure silicone. I like GE, pure silicone. And this is hair meant for hair weaves. I just put it on with my thumb there into the silicone. As I drag my thumb up, I'm spreading those hairs out. That means I am calling this guy done. I think he is much improved from when I got him.
Go make stuff!
Normally, I take this time to thank my Patreon supporters, but right now I want to thank everybody. Stiltbeast Studios hit 100,000 subscribers. Thank you all so much for your support. Go make stuff, everybody.